Thank you to both the speakers. It was really enlightening lecture. My question is to John Dayal, sir. I have had the occasion of listening to you. I am Santosh from JNU. Yeah, so I fully agree with you about the tyranny of distance. And coming from JNU, I can vouch for the fact that with so much activism happening in JNU, people are talking about all the issues. I have hardly seen people fanning out in the surrounding areas and working for them. So your appreciation for RSS is well taken. But then, if I see the long-term perspective, then history teaches us that if I talk about the problems of the Northeast, the Rwanda genocide, and the present situation in Mali, then this project of conversion has did is that it has actually created divisions between the same people. So in Mali, in Africa, I see same race divided between Christians and Muslims killing each other. About Northeast, American Baptist Church and their role in separatism and how they are denying the basic political rights to their own people, that also need to be factored in. So I would like your response on this. Thank you.
I have not appreciated the RSS. I have appreciated the speed and the numbers with which it has filled the void that the government has left open. Let that be very clear. And as I've said, I'm not here to defend Americans or to ask who funds my good friend's research. Those are not issues, because evangelization or even foreign funding is not a subject of the discussion. The discussion is a rational government policy for NGOs, whether they are funded from India, from Russia, Germany, the US, the UK, Australia, Japan. We have forgotten Japan for the moment. Saudi Arabia, we have forgotten that for a moment. We have not done that. We have not even discussed interface of religions. So to ask, does religion divide? Of course it divides. Sikhs are divided between the Mazhabis and the non-Mazhabis. It's the only religion in India which is setting up its own censor board, my dear friend. And Muslims kill each other, Shias and Sunni and Ahmadiyya. And so do Buddhists, the Hinayana and the Mahayana. Let me not talk about Hinduism, because I'm an expert and experts should not talk about this subject. Christianity kills. Ireland, America was founded, but Christians did not like Christians in Europe, and therefore they fled to the US and founded America, the Republic of. Oh, by the way, it wasn't Barack Obama who said it first. It was President Pranab Mukherjee. You've seen his pictures in a dhoti, bare-breasted in a temple, and quite correctly so. He's 80. If at that age you won't remember God, when will you? But he warned India that the Constitution is the holy book, that people must respect the Constitution, that everybody has the freedom of faith in this country, and that cultural nationalism and religious nationalism are not what this country is about. So let us not discuss religion and whether it divides or not. Of course it divides, I quite agree with you. And it divides in JNU also. The power of... Please tell me a religion which is not organized, I'll go join it tomorrow.
Okay,
you can define Hinduism.
Raka,
I want to ask
and
a
then
question.
you. Please, these people had raised their hands. Then you, and then you. Okay, we're coming.
I want to ask a question from Mr. Malhotra. Mr. Malhotra, the investigation you've done,
Could you use the
what is an
microphone?
example of that which is happening? The investigation that you've done through your NGO, what is an example of that in India? Can you identify some examples?
Yeah, I have a book called Breaking India. It's a 600-page book. Do we have copies here? We can get you copies. I've given about 100 examples in that. Named people, named institutions, both Western and Indian.
But could you give one or two examples?
One example is
What's happened in India?
one example is the Dalit Freedom Network, which is based in Denver, which has offices in US affiliates in India and offices in branches in Europe, and they have pushed laws. For human rights violations in India, in the European Union, in the British Parliament, in the US, come very close to having sanctions imposed on India in the United Nations. So that's an example of an international agency whose India activity is collecting data about atrocity literature, so they can use it. But when you look at this data they present on atrocity literature, there is no opportunity given to cross-examine it, to falsify it, to show that it is biased, to show it is one-sided. So this data which is there's a whole network that goes around collecting this so-called atrocities against the Christians in all over India, and without proper filtering and without proper analysis, this gets reported all over. And when it's reported and quoted enough times, it becomes fact. Then it's presented before legal bodies, and they take actual action. So this is the data gathering here going on. This is a very, very large operation. There's also concern that when you look at one of my co-author of mine is Tamil based, and he did a lot of undercover work. We went to various places in Tamil Nadu where there's a lot of aggressive evangelism going on, where they're changing the street names, and they are pressuring people to convert, coercion, either through generally financial incentives. Also a lot of hate speech, that your gods are no good, you're going to go to hell. We've taken a lot of leaflets that some of these evangelicals are giving out and had them. I have a whole library of these, translated them into English, scanned them. Some of them are put online, so you can see them. They give a negative, it's not just philosophically, intellectually debate where I disagree with you, that I do also, it's okay. But it's really down and dirty, ground level hatred for our religious icons, whether it is Devi, whether it is Ganesh, and Gurus, whether it is Ramakrishna, whether it is Vivekananda. All of them there are so many writings I've shown, you can read all those, where many of our major icons have been deconstructed and disabused in many ways, abused in many ways, and the family structure, what is wrong with the family structure. So you have to really read the reports in anthropology, the reports in history, the reports in religious studies, human rights, and you will be shocked at the amount of anti-Hindu venom which is being funded, which is being supplied, and then how it is being put to use there. So this is a very big industry.
But have you also investigated into anti-venom about other religions that perhaps is coming out from India?
No,
against Muslims, against Christians?
No, my specialty, you are doing that, a very good job of that already in India. Okay. I am based in the US, so I specialize in doing something nobody else is doing, which is looking at US institutions, US think tanks, US churches, US government, what they are doing. And they are not doing anti-Christian kind of stuff, they are doing anti-Hindu stuff. Now the anti-Buddhist stuff is also started. There is also a fairly large amount after 9/11, a fairly large amount of analysis of Islam and finding out what all is wrong with it. So these are things which are, they may be secular country in the terms of institution of government is separated from the church and so on, but in terms of thinking about these issues, it is considered part of US policy, US think. You go to any degree, any program which is teaching international relations. My daughter is doing advanced degree in international relations, so I know what all they do, what are the topics and all that. One of the topics is religious violence, religious conflict, and then they teach what can the US do in that place. Should we side with this guy against that guy? Can we buy off that guy? Who will favor us? What are the various tribes in that region? So the use of religion as a weapon to understand and study and manipulate and intervene is very much a part of the thought process. We are told that don't talk about these things, ये बुरी बात है, ये बदतमीजी की बात है, शर्म आनी चाहिए, सब कुछ same है, like that. But that is just at the pop culture level, okay? But as far as the institutions of power, the institutions where power is vested, they are very deeply involved in these kind of activities.
I'm being left out. I'm a Jain. You don't have anything against the Jain?
Please,
I think I'll go slightly,
at tea
deeper.
time, the rest of the conversation.
No,
There'll be
and
many
I think,
more. I mean, those who want to follow up personally on issues. Yes, I'm giving a chance.
Mr. Malhotra, it's a fascinating talk. But as I am a student of geopolitics and international relations, you talked about it. What basically is the basic motive? You said that any foreign donor, when they give it, there are some basic motives. And one of the motives, as you said, that you have already written a book called Disintegrated in India or the Breaking India, right? Now, geopolitically speaking, have you ever talked to those very people to find out what actually these Americans gain with the disintegration of India? Because I know that in India 1947, when it was divided, it was a geopolitical necessity. There is a very strong theory that it was not divided because of Hindu-Muslim tensions. The Britishers wanted, soon after they leave, they wanted a particular portion of India which will be catering to their geopolitical interest, Indian Ocean, freedom of navigation, what and what not. They are not very sure of an independent India falling in their trap.
So they wanted this thing. Now, just let me explain this. Now, as an American policy maker, if I see this particular part of the world, say Israel on the one side and say Japan on the other side, then the entire region is in trouble, not by Islamic fundamentalists, not Christian fundamentalists. There I totally agree with John.
I know your question. I've answered it many times.
So let me explain this. As John rightly pointed out, the Christians do not pose any threat because they are too insignificant a number. So basically, if any person, if any groups they really are very keen on a disintegrated India, I'll say some fundamentalist, Islamic fundamentalist or China. My question to you is this: do you think these very organizations which are funding India and creating this sort of tensions, are they funded? They in turn, are they funded by the Islamic sanctums in Saudi Arabia or the Chinese? Because they are the two major countries which want India to be disintegrated.
I understand the question.
I'm sorry. And another question to John.
No. Can I answer the question?
Sir, no, just 1 minute. John, you said that one should be very much transparent and there should be a very clear definition of national interest. I would like John, please, do you want in this country there should be a very clear and unambiguous definition of secularism? Thank you.
Do you want an answer or you just want to make a speech?
Answer, I said.
Okay.
I didn't.
Okay, wait a second. Yeah. Where is India in the geopolitics of America versus Islam versus China? They are the three geopolitical forces. I have given any number of talks, any number of videos. Also in this book, Breaking India, the final chapter is on that. Does it suit their interest? Does it not suit their interest? Does it suit American interest to keep a stable India and use it against China and Islam? Or does it suit America to have a broken India? And similarly for China and similarly for the Islam. I've analyzed this. So I've understood this question. I've analyzed the answer it any number of times. In 2005, I gave a 2-night talk on where is India in the American mind, in the eagle's eye. 2 night, Kapila Vatsyan chaired it, and this is a video on YouTube. You go to my channel and you can see 2-3 hour videos on this very topic, analyzing from the American point of view. There is the church view. America is not one homogeneous view. Okay, there is the church view, there is the left-wing view, there's many factions comprising America. It's like if somebody asked, somebody living in another country asked, what does India think about, Nigeria or something? The point is that which Indians? Some Indians will think this way, some have a business interest, they will think it from a business point of view, some have a different kind of an interest. So Americans are also very polarized. There is corporate interest, there is church interest, there is government interest. These interests also keep fluctuating from time to time. Then there is the Kissinger theory that you keep them sufficiently together but not very strong. You don't let them fall apart, but you don't let them become another China. The Kissinger theory is that you do not want another China where India becomes too strong, and you do not want another Pakistan where it falls apart, because if it becomes another China, you'll have two Chinas to worry about. One China is bad enough. Whereas if it falls apart and it becomes like another Pakistan, then you have a bigger problem than with the fragmented. So you neither want a broken India nor you want a very strong India. You want a mishmash, middle of the road khichdi India that just sort of survives. So there are many American points of view, and I don't have time to give you all of them in the analysis, and they're fighting with each other, but you can read this book and you can also watch my videos where I've analyzed this very problem in detail.
No, please. Let those who not spoken.
Let's in 1980s, Jean Kirkpatrick was a very serious. Jean Kirkpatrick was, I think, US ambassador to UN, or she was not foreign secretary, perhaps, yeah, but a very, very well-known politician in America. She wrote a book along with her father, Balkanizing India. So that has been there for a long time, and recently China. Now, a think tank in China has written, think tanks in China, they are all official, that along with Pakistan, India should be divided into 22 places, 22 different states. No, even America. No, I talked to you, Jean Kirkpatrick first, 30 years back.
Okay. My
request
is, please, one second. Yes, but I will, John, but I'm making a request. Those who haven't spoken should get the first chance. Those who already had some time for interventions, just hold back. We want everybody to speak. That's why 1 hour discussion time after each session. So please have patience and let those who have not spoken speak first.
Can I add to the secular question?
Yeah, because apart from diabetes, my other weakness is my inability to keep on saying I, but I have a strength. I don't believe that every book is the last word, apart from those books which people hold to be holy. Having said that, so I don't keep on saying what I did. 46 years I've done quite a lot. But your answer is very simple to answer. The state has no religion of its own and has no business to be involved in or be interfering in or be anyway connected with any religion. I reject the thesis of religious nationalism. I contest the use of the word we when referring to India, which leaves me out, which leaves Kabir out.
Next, yeah. Bolo. Get a mic.
I'm Abhishek and I'm practicing cricket, and I'm really thankful to initiate such a discussion, because in courts we occasionally come to the knee-jerk reaction that happens. What happened after the Greenpeace fiasco? We need to look into the pattern of funding. Especially, I thank Rajiv sir to bringing out how the fundings are done. I came across the pattern of funding after reading a book by ideologically a very neutral person called Julian Assange. He specifically brought out the nexus between the corporate intelligence agencies in the West and the NGO culture. And I'm here to thank you all, and I think we should take this discussion forward to a more productive manner, so that the next time we don't come up with a legislation which is a knee-jerk legislation, which does not comes up, start just with the banning of the NGOs, or make NGO, depict NGO as a, in fact, depict NGO as something which is anti-national, and all the NGOs are not anti-national. But I think I'm really.
I raised my hand. I've been raising my hand since very long. Thank you. Hello everyone, I'm Kripa Basnit. I'm working with a program on women's economic, social and cultural rights. What I'd like to add to what Rajeev Malhotra, so what you've mentioned is, like our organization, what we've done is our headquarter is in the global south, our branch is in the global north. What generally happens is, international organization, what they have is they have their headquarters in the global north and they'll open branches in other parts, in the global south. So our existence, I would say, is very political in nature, saying that we are not case studies to be studied as such. We can solve our own problem and not anyone coming and telling us what the solution should be. So I think, one aspect is that, and the other thing is, we've been involved in many movement, feminist movement, and there have been many movements coming from outside and telling us what needs to be done. So there's always this kind of invasion in our spaces, saying what needs to be done, not as what we need to do. So it's coming from inside. Our whole networking in South Asia has been the natural growth that we have seen. But at the same time, I've seen this challenge, the continuous, dialogue and all the conversation that has happened today. I can see there's so much of fragmentation. We've not been able to reach at that one point. What do we want? We're talking about having a rational government policy for NGOs, right? So what are we looking at? That should be the crux of the question. That would be the practical question, I would say, if you can answer to that. Thank you.
So I have two suggestions. One of them I already made, that if they free up a few lakh Hindu temples, those are NGOs. Those are NGOs from within the tradition. That doesn't stop Christians from having NGOs, Muslims from having NGOs, secular NGOs. I'm not saying they're the only NGOs, but it is a very strange situation that in a country where such a large majority of people are of a certain faith, their house of worship has been nationalized, is controlled by the government, and they are not allowed to do their own function, which in a temple would include all kinds of NGO work. So that is one proposal. Second proposal is, I would like that the students in India should be required, as part of their undergraduate education, they should spend 1 year in national social service in order to get a degree. So out of your 3 years or 4 years or whatever, whatever the course you are in, you take off 1 year of your choice and you do any of the approved areas of social work in order to get your degree. Otherwise you won't get a degree. This will do several things. It will provide free labor to the NGOs, because this will have to be volunteer work. So it will cut down their need for funding, because several lakh workers will become educated, workers will become available. It will also give them a sense of connecting with the masses, connecting with the problems of India, as opposed to being elitist. So they'll have to go to some village or to some place where help is needed. So if this were done, I think you could combat the foreign NGOs with a huge army of Indian young bright minds having their own sort of volunteer force, and indoctrinate them with Indian ideas.
The other solution, of course, would be the other solution would be to break up America.
I just asked a question earlier, so I just want to go to the topic of the conference. And I run a small NGO, and any kind of funding is welcome for me, foreign anywhere, because I cannot run my projects without paying the people who work for me. They are not going to work voluntary. For them, it's a livelihood, period. So I think the biggest culprit in all this is government of India, and if government decides to form a policy, they definitely need to have NGO participation in that. It cannot be without NGO participation. So therefore, we are funded in Delhi by a commission which is under the government, and they give us peanuts. They want us to hire part-time coordinators? I mean, can you function like that? Secondly, if I want funding from government, my proposal has to be passed by the state government, then it goes to the central government, and now
Raka, we know the existing problem.
Yeah, but I just want to,
So we are trying to come up with.
So we have also got foreign funding for a project, and we did that project without any kind of pressure. So as I said, I need any kind of funding. Now, do we question foreign investment in India, and our foreign policy is determined by that investment or whatever, any country? And secondly, you said about Medha Patkar and people like that. I mean, they today in this present government, the BJP government, they are the voice. Medha Patkar and other NGOs like that. They are the voice for whatever government is doing, passing that land ordinance, which is against farmers.
He didn't speak about.
No, not him. I'm just talking about the role of government, and I think government is the culprit. If I have to get
Raka, nobody, please, I did clarify. Let's not go over this territory again and again. Number one,
what it is.
Wait a minute.
It's NGO
Just wait
versus
a
government.
minute.
I don't give a damn about foreign funding. As long as my projects are being done. It's
Raka, am I stopping you?
Foremost.
I'm saying,
Raka, questions about what they spoke.
all I'm trying to, I'm not here to either solve my problem.
This is the reality where what NGOs face. I know a lot of NGOs are working, who are getting foreign funding, and that is why their projects are running.
Raka,
so
please don't just go on as though heavens are going to fall.
When you're talking about a national policy for NGOs, it's also, of course, how NGOs.
I've got it. How many times? Just a sec. Just
it's
a
also
sec.
the financial aspect.
Just a sec, Raja.
NGOs need money for functioning. We all have to close down. Then we can get
heavens won't fall if you can.
Then we can get government to do all the work. But all the time for any project.
Please, Raka, stop it. Stop it. We've heard it. We've heard it. Okay, we've heard it.
Yeah, so
we've heard it.
So apart from the
are we allowed a view that is somewhat different from yours or not? We are expressing a view that may be somewhat different. We are not so neutral about the sources of funding, and we try to explain to you why we think money is not all that neutral. The sources do matter. One second, just 1 second. Okay? And the very same people who don't want wives to be dependent even on their husbands, don't mind being dependent on foreign husbands and foreign patriarchs. I'm not trying to belittle your concerns, but what you're doing is making the survival of your own NGO the benchmark for everything. Please listen to what others are saying, why they're expressing concerns, and we want solutions. So we are not saying destroy NGOs, ban NGOs. No, not at all. Any society where social organizations, independent social organizations don't exist, a society which doesn't support, doesn't nurture independent social organizations is a dead society, deadening society. I want a very flourishing sector or an environment for social organizations, but no country, no self-respecting country in the world allows distant sources to run its politics, just as we have a law against political parties not being able to accept foreign funding. There's a law. Otherwise, political parties can say the same. Oh, these Indian businessmen, they're so stingy. They don't give any money. But all these foundations would gladly bankroll us. They can say the same thing. Fledgling political parties have similar problems. And yet we insist that our party politics be supported locally, that they learn to raise funds locally. So we are not saying ban NGOs. We want non-government organizations, social organizations, Swayamsevi Sansthas to proliferate even more, to have deeper roots, but not be tied to the apron strings of foreign funders. Now, you may have a different view, but some of us have thought it through, and just as I can't convince you in this one meeting, you're not going to. But all I'm saying is, at least respond to some of the issues being raised here. Why we are against it? Not because we want to kill your NGO. That's not the agenda here. Now, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Madhu, for organizing this, and my hearty compliments. Well, I'm Professor Ranjan Mahapatra, founder, head of Vision Fund, policy advisor to Government of India and relevant agencies. And my specific complaint to Rajeevji, I came primarily to hear you. I have been tracking your videos all along, and I think you have pioneered a domain, new domain, to decolonize the mindset of Indians. And that's something that is well done. It's a big job, and many classes. But well done is half job done. But next phase that you said, I have many more ideas. I can just throw it on to you, but then you can tell you what I'm behind the CSR policy of Government of India, which is a law now. I published the first magazine on CSR in the country. Now, these temples are pockets of money, corporate CSR has pockets of money, and also universities are also having scopes for doing research on this. Your research is the beginning, a kind of a direction setup. But if India doesn't research on these domains, then it is not going to take us far. Because you have to cleanse the colonized mindset of India, which is of some 1500 years. It's not going to be easy, but that has to be done. If you don't do it, then India is not going to get its own position of pride of being the spiritual leader of the world. But to do it, you have to do a lot of work within India. You have started it outside India at the right beginning. Am I the right direction to think CSR funds, universities to set up chairs of research on this domain and allied very different domain? Am I right in the direction?
Yeah. In fact, I'll tell you, a bad trend is happening. We have to stop bad trends also.
Yeah.
20 years ago, I used to go around promoting, preaching, evangelizing that Indians should fund study of India
in the US universities. I no longer do that. I gave a lot of money, tried it, experimented it. The point is, you put one professor here and one professor there. Each of them is surrounded by a whole department of lots of people on the other side. One guy can't change it. So we don't have critical mass to fund chairs in the US, and they cost $4 million each. It's a waste of money. And so I believe that this research and these chairs have to be in India, not in the Western world. However, now that I have changed from that model to this India-based model, unfortunately, a lot of Indian diasporas have now joined the bandwagon of doing what I used to propose earlier. So now it has become fashionable to go and set up chair in Harvard and Columbia and here and there and there. So that's a very serious problem, because what they're doing is they're feeding the opponent. They're actually giving money to those guys. You're not going to change somebody's thinking by giving him money. Okay, you can't do. I tried it and I lost all my money trying to get people to influence, but you can't do it. You can't do it. One example I'll give of this colonized mind is the use of the term of the categories left and right. These categories don't make sense in India. In the beginning, somebody said there is two ideologies. There is the Western ideology and this Indian right wing, as if the Western is left wing. But West has also got their left wing and their right wing. Okay. So, and also you must know that in the Western use of left and right, the church is a right-wing organization. The leftists consider church to be the biggest problem in the right wing, but when the same church comes here, it becomes a darling of the left. So Indians don't even know what is left and right. And you should, wait. You should also know the origin of left and right. After the French Revolution, French didn't take a bath, so they used to smell. But the rich people had perfume, so they did not smell. And so the poor people, they didn't smell. So after the French Revolution, when the peasants were also being elected to the parliament consisted of... The French parliament consisted of peasants and rich landlords. And the peasants didn't want to sit with the landlords didn't want to sit with the peasants because they all had these body kind of issues. So they were sitting on one side of the aisle and the other guys were sitting on the other side of the aisle. And so since they didn't really know each other's names, they would refer to the gentleman on the right said this and I'm responding, and that guy would say the gentleman on the left said this. So this became known as the left wing position and the right wing position. So, but in India, we take a bath, we don't have that problem.
I just reply to that very briefly. I refer to the left and the right because
only one line.
One second, I'll just finish.
Can I ask?
Please let me finish.
That was a very,
Only one line.
that was a fascinating toilet paper look at history, I must say.
The left and the right I referred to was left organizations take up pet issues, the right organizations take up pet issues. Okay, it's rarely, and I referred in the morning also to Enron, it's very rarely that the left and the right in India come together on issues. That was the point I was making.
Left and right.
Was Gandhi a left wing or a right wing? What were you going to say? He was a Dharmic guy. He was a Dharmic guy, so he was right wing. But he was for the poor and he was a left wing guy. So it's not a joke, you know.
No, I think you should understand the spirit.
Let's not dumb it down. Let's not dumb it down. What
Okay.
I'm trying to say is there are pet issues that one side does not take up, and that is where the gap.
Find a new name for that one side and the second side. Just find a new name. That's all.
You have a problem with the name. we can
I
find something
really
else. But
think
the
we
fact
should
is
find a
there are
new
some
name.
issues that the right doesn't take up.
Please understand, all we are saying is you're right about that.
Yes.
But all of them behave very identically when they are in power.
Of course.
Okay, no,
Of
so
course.
left-right difference disappears
That's
the
the
moment
reason-
any party is in power, whether it's CPM or BJP.
That's the reason we are looking for
But
solutions.
what we are
Otherwise it
saying
would be
is,
very simple.
please let's find our own labels. That's all. Let's find our own descriptive terms. A society which cannot even define its own politics on its own terms is a very intellectually enslaved society.
No problem.
That's all I say. Left, right, any.
Only one line.
No, there are people who haven't spoken.
Rich and poor. Only rich and poor.
Oh, nahi bole, I'm going to call those who haven't spoken.
Only one line,
Yes,
ma'am.
you. Only those first those who haven't spoken.
नमस्कार मैं रवि हूँ JNU से आई एम रवि actually I want to ask John Dayal ji about one particular example of how the interventions created through these non-governmental organizations, they are destabilizing the society. Recently there was a Mahishasur Meta-Item Day at JNU. So what was behind Mahishasur Meta-Item Day? Actually it's a Christian theological concept of raising Constantine. There is a deep contextualization strategy that is going on. Each of the ethnographic community of India, it is being provided with a particular icon. Like in this particular case, Yadavas of the North India, they are being provided with the Mahishasur as their ancestor, and they are creating another kind of mythology that Durga was a prostitute sent by Brahmins to kill the indigenous people of India long back. And in this way, they are creating this Bahujan concept, this Mool Nivasi concept. After 2009 convention of UNO, suddenly we are hearing this Mool Nivasi from all over India. Recently, few months back, we heard about this Mool Nivasi thing, Aryans and upper caste, lower caste, civil war kind of these projections from our own very chief minister of a particular state. I will name it Bihar. So this is not simply something going on very innocently. These kind of projects are being implemented on the ground, and certainly there is one particular magazine which has been highlighting this, that is called a Forward Press. And if I tell you that who are behind Forward Press, because they advocate social justice, women rights and these things through there, and they are creating this Mahishasur mythology and other kind of mythologies. But all the people behind this are some are from Bramley Baptist Church, Canada, some are from some other churches, and University Institute, Delhi. And what they are doing? Ethnographic study with creating alternate subversive discourses, and these kind of things are definitely going to create a situation that is a civil war situation. That is the concern. Thank you.
Only what was your name, sir? I didn't catch your name.
Ravi.
Ravi, what, sir?
Ravinder Singh Basera.
Thank you.
You, ma'am.
No, I could.
Let's get some questions first and then. Because otherwise people won't get a chance to answer.
All right. My answer is in your question.
So what is that?
I come under scheduled tribe. That's not an answer.
You were a Rajput.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did not say that. I have also not challenged him that why is he replicating the research that RAW does. Or why, no, you thought, please think for yourself, allow me to think for myself. Thank you.
In this case, he was thinking for himself.
Can I? Lata Shanava, I'm from Mumbai, so I'm the foreigner here today. You know, no, you don't need to get so, you know, I'm just.
Daughter of soil theory.
Yeah, okay,
So
thank you, thank you. Yeah, it is. No, anyway, let me get to the question. 3 points. One is this, you know, what you talked of the students that have to get some 1 year of research. I think it's very important because what you talked of in Breaking India, I see it replicated in our so-called elitist institutions in India. You know, I've done my PhD. I'm not luckily, fortunately affiliated to any association or political party, so that allows me to say what I want without vested interests. But Tata Institute, where I've done my PhD from, it's not even breaking India, it's breaking my family basically. My son did his master's there, and I got my PhD degree at the same convention. And recently I just told him that, you know, my paper has been published in the Indian Journal of Mental Health. Oh, he said, congratulations, what is it about the undivided Hindu Rashtra? For him, I'm RSS, okay? So my family gets divided by this whole divide and rule policy, and my work is with children. You know, this divide and rule policy, I work only with children. But I get to hear of the Dalit child, the Christian child, the Muslim child, and believe me, children, I used to work for 23 years with mentally challenged children, and moved on to the so-called normal children, because one agitation is the problems that I'm facing, what I faced with my mentally challenged children, I face in India Shining Kids today, which is like 10-12% of India's population. 85% is aspirational India, which wants to be this great American family of the 50s model, what Gautam Bhatia calls from Sarla Devi to Mrs. Kapoor of Noida. Half carbon footprint to 16.5 carbon footprint. That is the agenda of all government agency. And I think you should be worried because children are the future of every society, and nobody is talking of the Indian child. They form 40 to 45% of our population, and this child today is completely colonized. You know, response to Mr. Dayal's safety nets, we used to have families and communities as safety nets. America has dismantled its families and communities. We were collectivistic societies, aparigriha and nirham bhavana. Today it's all about pleasure gratification and individual attainment. So I used to teach 20 years, you know, for 20 years, and before I'd ask students, what is it that you want to become 20 years later? And they'd say, you know, I want to be a doctor, I want to save this one, I want to work with so-and-so, I want to do this for people. Today when I ask them, they say, I want a 3-bedroom house in Malabar Hill, a car, aspiration goals. So celebrities are great. I mean, Obama talks about SRK and obesity, and this young girl on NDTV tells me, you know, it's so interesting, I want to work, you know, I'm a cosmetologist or I'm a diabetic person. The poor don't have diabetes. These are lifestyle disorders. I work with corporates and they're dying at 40 years. My father is 85 years old. Hold on.
Diabetes is not a lifestyle, it's a life-threatening disorder.
Can I have my say, please?
No, just
Can I have my say? In Tata Institute, for 20 years, I was not given the mic. I was not invited for a conference. There is an academic mafia there. Rajeev Malhotra's books, Arun Shoury's, Madhu Kishor's books are not there. No, I'm not allowed to talk. That's not fair.
We're allowing you to talk. We're not. I mean,
so my point here becomes, safety nets should not come from the state. You don't outsource your families to the service industry that parents in Mumbai, I worked, my PhD is on 1100 mothers across families. It's an important study, across religion, across socio-economic status. My focus is on the child and the mother because she's the primary caregiver. And you know, it's not rape, it's not domestic violence, it's not unequal ages or whatever, because India, when we got independence, we didn't ask if the woman had to vote or whatever. It was understood. The Dalit voted, everybody voted. America, after some, they were debating when we had a woman chief minister, whether 2/3 may, whether, women should vote, and it was negated. My point is, the woman's biggest problem in my research, 97.3% complained of fatigue. The primary caregiver of society, not just families, children of society, is complaining of fatigue. That you should be worried about. And secondly, the child, all this rape and abuse and schools being highlighted, what parents are doing to children today is, I call, child labor and child abuse. They're sending them for 20 tuitions, 20 classes, outsourcing them to servants, drivers. This is abuse. 0 to 6, a child should not even be going into formal schooling.
But we are requesting
I think,
back to the...
Yeah, so the NGOs perpetuate, because how you raise your children is deemed by the economic policy that you adopt. So if you want to create smart cities, the problem becomes that it is dependent on this kind of thing, that where is the real problem? I'm saying NGOs should take up real issues. AIDS is not the problem. Diarrhea is not the problem. It is this whole decline in emotional intelligence and inquiry. Take up these issues. Parent training, parent support. These are not the problems. Dowry deaths are not problems. Feticides are not. They are. But you take care of your larger thinking mindsets, everything will get taken care of.
Okay, thank you. Good point, really. Yes, John.
No, because at some stage this whole seminar is about the truth, which has been a major casualty. But let me at least correct one medical issue. Half of the diabetics are type A, which is from birth. It's got nothing to do with lifestyles. A diabetic insulin pump in India costs 4.5 lakhs. You require 2 pumps as a fail-safe. Even a middle class person cannot afford it. Do not mock my medical situation.
I'm not mocking. My
Let's
mother has diabetes.
close this,
My
please.
mother has diabetes. I don't have it.
Let's not. It has very little to do with the theme at hand.
Only one line.
जी बोलिए.
Sir, Shri Malhotra ji, my day is made listening to you. Because we are the victim of the cultural genocide that you are talking of. And the lady, you wanted an example. Car panchayats are the one. There has been cultural genocide which is taking place. My day is made and you have a recruit in me. मैं आपको नतमस्तक होता हूँ और आपका शिष्य बनूंगा. धन्यवाद.
हाँ जी. Yes, you've been raising your hand for a long time.
Myself, Gagan Gandhi, and I'm an advocate at Delhi High Court. I came here fascinated with the NGO concept actually, and I'm left with more questions than answers after we are closing to an end. And I would like to thank Mr. Rajeev Malhotra for enlightening us. And I just want to ask one thing, that given what he has discussed, this means there is a lot of room for the reverse engineering which is happening actually in US. And I just want to know the roadmap ahead, if somebody is actually keen in working on that reverse engineering.
Yes, Vijay.
But brief, please, because we have one last session waiting for us. हाँ बोलो. नहीं विजय भाई, कैसे हम बोलेंगे आपको छोड़ने को?
जो आपने कहा कि आपकी एक NGOs के बारे में कि वो स्वतंत्र हों विदेशी पैसे से, ये अच्छा विचार है और फले फूले ये भी आप चाहती हैं, लेकिन एक इसकी व्यवहारिक समस्या है. जो सबसे बड़े 2 धर्म हैं यहाँ के, हिंदू और मुसलमान, उन्हीं के NGOs जो हैं सबसे ज़्यादा पैसा आता है. और कुछ स्टडीज़ में ये भी है कि दोनों में ही डूबियस चैनल से बहुत आता है, इंक्लूडिंग विश्व हिंदू परिषद, CIA एंड ऑल दैट. तो इन दोनों को एक साथ रोकेंगे अगर आप, तो बहुत सोशल टेंशन्स हो जाएंगे. इसका प्रैक्टिकल पॉलिटिकल जवाब आपके पास क्या है वो समझना चाहता हूँ.
देखिए, उनसे करेक्ट है या इनकरेक्ट है. अगर हम कह रहे हैं कि
हाउस पे रखा गया था कि VHP
अच्छा चलिए मान लिया VHP को आता है, और मैंने ये बात भी की कुछ बीजेपी के लोगों से, तो यही उन्होंने भी कहा कि हमारे हिंदू ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को भी बहुत आता है। तो मेरा तो बहुत स्पष्ट मत है, चाहे हिंदू, चाहे सिख, चाहे मुस्लिम, चाहे क्रिश्चियन, सबको पूरी स्वतंत्रता होनी चाहिए इस देश में अपना काम करने की, चंदा लेने की, सब कुछ करने की। फॉरेन फंड से यहाँ पे संस्थाएं चलाने की स्वतंत्रता नहीं होनी चाहिए, ये मेरा बहुत स्पष्ट मत है। VHP हो चाहे कोई हो, and what's good for goose is good for gander. I really don't differentiate at all in this. Let them be upset. और
पॉलिसी बनवाइए, हो क्या रहा
मैं कह रही हूँ ना, तो अरे वो आप लेट आए हैं, सुबह हमने सारा दिन यही हमने सुबह से यही क्रिटिसाइज किया कि सिलेक्टिव टारगेटिंग विल नॉट डू even of the so-called suspects. I will not accept it. There has to be due process, there has to be transparency. That's why we are demanding a commission, a judicial commission, time bound, जो अपना रिपोर्ट दे कि इनको क्या तकलीफ है, किससे क्या तकलीफ है, रिव्यू हो, और जो कोई गलत कर रहा है, चाहे खुदा भी हो, तो खुदा को भी सूली पे लटकाओ, गलत काम तो गलत है।
Who has been demanding the judicial commission? Because since I came, I've not heard this word.
I said it in my very first presentation, my 6 demands. I'm going to repeat, John. Yes, I will. First and foremost, a judicial commission, time bound. Huh?
This is on behalf of the CSDS.
No.
Government of India.
I'm saying it on my behalf. As faculty CSDS or as Manushi, I am well within my rights to have my opinions, and I'm saying there should be a judicial commission, and I'm speaking on my behalf as faculty CSDS, not on behalf of all of CSDS. There should be an inquiry commission, time bound, which actually investigates and tells us what's wrong. I am not at all convinced that IB reports are the right instrument to go by. I'm extremely worried that intelligence reports of the kind that UPA government had commissioned and then NDA government is using is not the way to go about it. Knee-jerk reactions will not do, selective targeting will not do, humiliating this or that NGO will not do. We want a transparent inquiry and a time-bound report as to what ails the NGO sector if the government think there's something ailing it. Secondly, those who are involved in scams and misuse of funds or non-reporting of accounts, which is what apparently majority of NGOs don't even submit accounts, then there should be due process punishment for those who have violated the laws. Thirdly, there should be greater clarity about what is covered by the term political activity under FCRA. FCRA on the surface prohibits political activity, but it's used very selectively and used for arm twisting rather than real. I want to know, for example, whether advocacy for this or that law comes under the category of political activity, whether running campaigns against this or that party under the guise of combating communalism is political activity or not, taking part in electoral politics as proxies, whether that's political activity or not. I think the term political activity needs to be defined properly, and those then who are violating those norms and receiving funds should be dealt with accordingly, but in a transparent fashion. I also said that we need to ban foreign funding of NGOs, just as we do not allow foreign funding of political parties. But we need to create a national social service fund from the 2% corporate social responsibility fund that the government is starting to levy. That levy should not go to government coffers, nor should it be that the corporates decide what they are going to do with it, whether they are going to put rose plants outside their factory and call it corporate social responsibility or XYZ. It should become part of a national pool and managed through an independent commission on the lines of the election commission, an autonomous independent commission with proper rules and regulations, transparent, and with bodies at the state level also, so that all those involved in social work, human rights work, advocacy work, running institutions for education or health can draw upon this. And all the money that currently governments are giving to NGOs, even the Prime Minister apparently has hundreds of crores of funds that it very arbitrarily gives to NGOs that are close to the PMO. That ought not to be the way. All this money should be pooled in a National Social Service Fund, and at the state level also its counterparts, and NGOs of all hues, social organizations of all hues, Swayamsevi Sanstha's, advocacy campaigners, all should be able to draw upon it through very transparent and well publicized rules. And that NGO accountability should involve mandatory posting of all their accounts in full details in both income and expenditure on their respective websites. So it's not enough that you give it to the income tax authorities or to the FCRA, because there we know you can get past anything, bribe, and you can get away with murder. That's not enough. There should be total transparency. It should be available on the website. And if there are foreign governments or whatever who are so keen to help India, let them also contribute to this fund, not to individuals, not to specific NGOs. Let it become part of a national pool. But I personally, I make no bones about it that I want a ban on foreign funding of NGOs, just as we don't allow foreign funding of political parties. This is what I started off with in the last session when I made my presentation. So we have solutions. We don't want all of us to just disappear simply because foreign funding recipients are going to be under attack, or even selective targeting. I'm against it, and which is why we've called this meeting. We want a rational policy, open policy, transparent policy.
Just one question. One question. What would be your proposal to stop funding, as is pointed out, which does not come through FCRA banking routes?
That's criminal anyway. Hawala transactions are illegal. So,
so is the rest
so they should be. So just as just as we are fighting to bring back all the looted money, it's not easy, but I think it should be done. And Hawala money can be easily, Hawala transactions can be tracked, because if suddenly somebody is flush with funds and they have absolutely no way of accounting how they got them, it's easy for government to track. But no point banning anything without creating decent, dignified alternative sources of funding.
I'd like to just add one line, about the, I don't know.
All right.
Just one comment. There was a factual inaccuracy in Vijayji's statement. मैंने पार्लियामेंट में जो रखा गया क्या फैक्ट है, किस संस्था के बारे में, वो मैं नहीं जानता. मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ होम अफेयर्स का 2001 से 2012 तक के रिपोर्ट्स हैं, देयर इन पब्लिक डोमेन. पिछले 12 साल में 1,03,724 करोड़, 1,03,724 crores has come. Out of that, 70% has come to Christian organizations. That is by the MHA report. So I'm very interested in what Parliament, what was discussed there. So I just want to correct that as far as the MHA reports are concerned.
Just you, and then Bajaj will take over and the concluding session, and then we'll all have a good cup of tea and coffee, and after you, no. आपके साथ करना, no. After you speak, there'll be a discussion. Okay, so we are winding up this.
Can I just make one comment? Can I just make one comment? One other thing I leave for you to ponder. I'm not saying, I have a very strong opinion, but I leave for you to ponder, is should there be any restriction on Indian citizens, especially those working in some government agency or appointed by the government, should there be any restrictions on them going to Washington, going to United Nations, going to the US Congress and giving testimony against India on human rights and calling for economic sanctions. Now, I don't want to name people, but if you read my book, I have named Indians who have actually gone repeatedly, being paid by Western agencies, the same kind of people I'm talking about. Indians going there and giving testimony and saying, ye ho raha hai, rape ho raha hai, ye kar rahe hai, Christians ke against kar rahe hai. Indian citizens who over here have the face that are really patriotic and everything is nice and they get positions and posts, but they are the ones who are going there, supplying this material and this atrocity literature and pleading to have sanctions against India. Should there be a law? Should it be
Of course,
considered?
they should be tried and sentenced, possibly to death for being a traitor.
Good.
Yes, I have just it's a question also and kind of observation. Ma'am, you said banning of foreign funding. I mean, the problem lies with those who are funding, and problem also lies with those who are receiving the funds. Okay. Now, banning has not worked in India so far, and now this society is open. Countries are very open, and they are receiving funds. On the one hand, you are receiving now FDI. You are now craving for FDI. You are craving for financial funds. All kinds of funds you want to have in India. On the other hand, you want to ban, and you say that the political parties have been banned from taking foreign funding. But we all know that how they get the funds, from where they get the funds. Now the same situation going to arise here. Unless you find out, we have to reform those people who are giving, or we have to law which can take care of those people who are giving a wrong kind of funding or misutilizing the funding here. Banning cannot be a solution at all. Okay. That is my submission. And this kind of environment where everything is now open, or your borders are open, your fundings are open. Yeah, borders are open. Borders are open. Okay, in a very different way. Not for laborers. I'm not talking about laborers. Borders are open, but all the capital, even for labor, those who want to work here, they can come. So that way borders are open. It's not the borders are open, but terrorists are.
Okay, point made.
So please, I think this is a very serious matter. The binding cannot be a solution.
Point made. Yes, last.
The Constitution was referred as the holy book, and in that sense it was said that the state has no relation with religion. In our Constitution, based on the Constitutional Assembly debates, the Supreme Court in Bomai case, which was a 9 judges Constitution bench judgment, quoting the debates of the Constituent Assembly, clearly held that unlike Western secularism, where the state and religion have to be separated, our secularism is where state can promote all religions equally.
Not promote, respect.
Respect, and there is no bar on in the Indian constitutional scheme on Islamic cultural nationalism. If there is anything like that, there is no bar per se in our secular fabric in someone following Christian cultural Indian nationalism. And similarly, there is no bar in any Hindu following Hindu cultural nationalism. So it's equality and promotion of all religions. So they are allowed. Since Mr. John said that these kinds of cultural nationalism are not allowed, or religious nationalism.
He said his opinion.
I made 3 separate observations. I said the President of India said this, the Constitution says this, and I think the state has no business to be in religion, particularly in the politics and business of religion.
Fine.
My apologies.
Okay.
I think like this.
No.
We really have to have after, but in Bajaj session, you'll have a lot of questions. No, I'm saying not just now.
Freedom to propagate bhi hai. There is.
Freedom to propagate bhi hai, but not hate speech.
Freedom to propagate is an individual's right.
Yeah,
okay.
What I'm saying is,
who is denying it? No. Rajeev has said a lot of things against Christianity and Christian organizations, but I must congratulate him. He has not said that there's a ban on the propagation of religion.
Yeah, it's part of our constitution.
Even he knows it.
Wait, just to correct you, I have not said a single word against Christianity. I have said a word against institutions, foreign institutions. Christianity has
I agree.
Yeah, I have not said a word against Christianity per se, but there are institutions that are creating mischief in India, and that is what I have been criticizing, but not Christianity as a faith per se.
Okay, now I think this session has to come to a close, and you will invite.
Now I would
invite Dr. J.K. Bajaj to give his observations, but he will be introduced first before he proceeds. Yeah.